Eric, hey, how are you? Not bad. Wow. Okay, it's Monday, May 15th, the 23rd. We're gonna call the meeting back to order. Jackie, can you do roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Cutchin,
Here.
Linda Kammerer,
Here.
Linda Dunham,
Here.
Lisa Samuelson,
Here.
Seema Lavelle Beers,
Here.
Counselor Bjornson,
Said she might be late today, so.
okay. Counselor Hooker,
You have an excused absence for this evening?
okay. Brenna Chrisman.
Here.
Counselor Tarman,
Here.
Counselor Hollett,
Here.
Ben Sakdiva,
Let us know he will not be able to make tonight.
okay. Jan Christensen.
Here.
Counselor Kenyon.
Here.
Counselor Coker,
She is also absent tonight.
that's all.
All right, so next will be declarations of conflicts of interest.
Is there a quorum?
We have it. What do you
Yeah.
say, James?
We're only minus 3 or 4.
4. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think we do.
Just 3,
Yeah, because Bjornson will probably come on.
yeah.
I think we have a hand raised from Counselor Hollett regarding conflicts.
Yeah, this is Counselor Hollett. I have a potential conflict of interest. My husband is an employee of the city of Oak Ridge for the fire department.
I myself, Brenna Chrisman, have a potential conflict of interest. My husband works for the Public Works Department, City of Oak Ridge. Next, we'll move on to public comment. Okay. All right, so with no public comment, continued discussion of proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget. Looks like up first is the library.
Madam Chair, before we get started, man,
Mhm.
have a moment.
Yes, sir.
So as mentioned several times in this committee, most of the funds here have an operating deficit in this budget, which means the funds are using net working capital or beginning balances to make ends meet, which means they intend to spend more than they tend to take in this next year. This is reflected by decreasing ending balances, which includes contingency, ending fund balances, and reserve for future expenditures. So given that, I'd like to make a motion. So I move to request that staff reduce expenditures in each fund equal or be less than resources, excluding net working capital and beginning balance funds. The only exception to this is for funds where the city council has made a decision to make a capital investment, in which the case the corresponding reduction in capital funds has been acknowledged.
I second that.
You may.
You may. I'll second. So we had all our
Discussion?
session.
Any discussion on my motion?
This Counselor Hollett, I have discussion.
Go ahead.
I would prefer we have this conversation a little bit further down after we've talked about the budgets tonight and then also the admin budget, and readdress this motion after we've heard every department.
My concern is that the further we get down the road, and then ask the staff to go back and completely redo a budget, it's going to make us impossible to actually pass it on time. So the bottom line is you can't spend more than you take in. So I think it's time to address that instead of acknowledging that every single fund virtually is operating deficit.
For me, the entire motion that you made was so long, it's hard to understand. I'd like a further description of what your motion is.
Councilor Kenyon, what I'm trying to do is remove the beginning balances and net working capital numbers from the budget. So the funds have to operate within the resources that they expect this year instead of spending down their savings that they already have. Every single fund has a lower ending balance than it does a beginning balance virtually. So I'm trying to make them actually operate where revenues equal expenditures.
I think we might have an issue with general fund with that, but we can look at it.
Well, it's going to require some hard decisions, unfortunately, I think.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to beginning fund balances and net working capital. Isn't that the same thing?
Yes, I'm trying to make it so everyone understands what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure I understand this because in general, we usually have beginning fund balances. So why you would
You're-
want to.
I'm not saying you can't have beginning fund balances. I'm saying you shouldn't spend them down because it's unsustainable if you continue to spend beginning balances down less than and end up less than what you started with. You eventually run out of money, just like a personal budget.
I believe, Stina, do you have your hand raised?
Yes, I do. I understand what you're saying. So with the individual budgets and the line items, you don't want to, as they say, go into the kitty. You want everybody to stay within their budget if that's what I'm understanding. I usually use it in different terminology, but if that's what I'm understanding, that's what you're trying to do.
Yes, they stay within their resources that they take in this next year instead of
Okay.
spending what they have set aside.
Okay, so is there any, because that's why I've been listening, because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to, being that the budgets that I used to do was so big, I'm trying to scale them down and understand how they work on a smaller level. So, but if something happens, let's say within the 6 to 9 months, where a line item or something is going to call for more money will we be able to go into the kitty and to pay for something?
Yes, depending on the level, it would either be able to be done at the staff level or by a supplemental budget.
Depending on where we.
Right.
Okay, all right, I understand.
Thank you.
I think what you're saying then is, and what she's saying is if you just spend it and it's gone, then if you do have an emergency, it's gone. What are you gonna do? You can't spend money like there's no tomorrow or something.
We're spending money that we had in the bank. And we ended up with less money at the end of the year.
Yeah, I can't operate like that.
Councilor
No.
Howlett?
Yeah,
you?
so I'm curious. So for instance, emergency services has a beginning fund balance of 160 some odd $1,000. And Chief Hollett mentioned that he needs to possibly buy an ambulance this year. So are you suggesting that that money not be allowed to do that, and that money, that their beginning fund balance be essentially frozen?
Yes, you wouldn't be able to assume that 160,000 is available. He can put it like the public works folks did in the transfer, which is not an expenditure. And if it's not there, it's not there, but he's welcome to do that, but he cannot expend it.
So is that your reasoning so that the fire department can't buy an ambulance? Cause I mean, the other,
I'm trying to keep the city solvent. If we go down this road, this is just, if we approve a budget like this, we're kicking the can another year. And next year, it'll be a worst case situation, maybe not even achievable. So I'm trying to keep the city solvent. It's not focused on an ambulance.
so what do you suggest for departments that might be starting off their budget in a deficit?
Well, here's what I would say. As a budget committee, we recommend reductions in appropriations and leave it up to the staff, who are the experts, to figure out how to make those numbers meet.
I would say this is the primary reason I joined the budget committee. To be able to be affiliated with an operation that operates with real numbers, rather than spend money we don't have or come to a screeching halt in month 6 of our budget year, say, we're out of money, now we have to scramble around and do something else. I prefer to operate with real numbers from the beginning.
I don't know that we haven't looked at the whole budget. So how do we know if every single fund is spending more than what they have in their beginning fund balance? Or whatever you said.
Funded the majority of it.
I would expect the staff to go back and look at it and figure that out. It's not something that we need to drill down on, particularly if we're only going to reduce appropriation and not individual line items. So the staff, now giving them the time instead of waiting, give them the time to go back and figure out how they're going to make ends meet in each of these funds.
So, I have something else I just want to inquire about.
Now, we do have a motion on the table, though. If it doesn't apply, it should be held for another time.
No, it kind of goes along with this.
Okay.
So, what I used to do is that we used to do what we call take down the accruals. So say that you spent $8, you were budgeted $10 for milk, you only spent $6, and you had $4 hanging out over. So with each line item, we would go through and we would have that as extra money. That's why we would call it taking down the accruals, because it's money that you didn't spend that you've accrued over the quarter or so. So is that kind of thing done here, or maybe it's called something different?
They don't call it that. I'm sure that they did that during the budget process as they went through each department.
I just wanted to ask if it was the same process or it's called something different. That's all.
Counselor Hall, is that a new hand?
Yeah, I just lastly want to say that I can understand discussing this topic, but I think it would be more reasonable to discuss this once we have gone through all of the department budgets. And I think it's pretty unfair that our prior administration has blamed emergency services for the last couple years, and now their ambulance revenue has come in better, and they're trying to buy an ambulance potentially, and then the money to be cut from them. I think it's pretty poor to the emergency services we provide.
As I said before, this is about the entire budget, has nothing to do with emergency services fund.
Any further discussion?
Brian, can you email us the text?
Yep.
Jackie,
I'm sorry, I do have one more thing I wanted to mention is that, just to get it out there, I haven't actually reviewed the entire budget yet because we haven't actually been presented with a full and complete budget yet. So, I don't know, for me, this is premature to, make a decision like this. But whatever. That's all.
I just feel like we've been wasting our time here because there's been so many errors that have had to be fixed and all of that. And if it goes back now to the people who need to look at their budgets, it's better than us just continually wasting our time. I think they need to clean in-house and then bring it to us.
I'm just worried about how long that's gonna take.
Well, it should have been started a long time ago. I keep saying that every dadgum year, and I'm gonna keep saying it. This frustrates me.
Maybe I'm missing something, but Councilor Kenyon, wouldn't you just then have to review the part you haven't yet seen once rather than twice?
I look at the budget as a whole item, not just an individual page. So so far it's done me, it would be of no use to read each page as on the day that we're gonna do it. I need to see the whole budget.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Jackie, can you call for a vote?
Yes. Mayor Cutchin,
Aye.
Linda Kammerer, Linda Dunham,
Yeah.
Lisa Samuelson,
Yes.
Seema Lavelle Beers,
Yes,
Brenna Chrisman,
Yes.
Counselor Charman,
Aye.
Counselor Hollett,
Nay.
Ben, oh, he's gone. Jan Christensen,
I,
Counselor Kenyon,
I,
9 ayes and 1 nay.
I got two.
Oh, motion. And you're gonna email that to him for staff.
Done.
Thank you. Any other? All right, move on to library. Which is page 14 on the papers we got this evening. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have no idea how to raise my hand, but I'm wondering why we would even have a budget meeting after the motion we just made.
Well,
I agree.
some
We
of
just
these-
asked staff to go back to the drawing board essentially.
can we look at it to see if it looks okay, at least? I mean, maybe not every fund is, or every portion is all screwed up or overspending.
Well, the vote wasn't to ask staff to check if all the funds were screwed up. The vote was basically ask all the departments to cut back.
Yep, all of them.
Not all of them, only the ones that are operating in a deficit.
Maybe
Yeah,
this-
so doesn't the staff need to go back and review which ones are in a deficit and then come back to us? I see Colleen is nodding her head yes, and to me, that means the staff needs to review which ones are in a deficit and come back to us.
Well, all these funds we're looking at today are in the general fund overall, so there really is no requirement for an department to follow that rule, only the general fund as a whole. To me, it gives
The
you
general-
insight. Gives you the insight into what the spending is wanting to be in each of these funds or departments.
I can assure you the entire general fund is operating in a deficit. and it has
Exactly.
to be used.
Well, I suggest you make a motion then and see if it passes.
Colleen, would you please speak to that?
Yeah, because everything we're going over today is in the general fund. And general fund is by far, in the worst spot. So everything in here would need to be looked at.
Thank you.
So do we feel that we won't be able to be effectively catching errors or, being more educated on the budget by going through it today and we should just cancel it? Is that what we're saying?
Well, we could, but none of these have changed. These have all been in the packet.
And then we have another meeting on Wednesday, so it'd be,
But none, this isn't gonna be done by.
right, that's, then we'd be canceling 2, and then we're already 2 behind, and
Well, I do have a question. It looks like administrative overhead is listed twice in the library budget. Under the first line, for 19,450. It's listed under there and separately. It's listed in another place. Yeah. Two different photos. And can I ask what is listed under administrative overhead?
well, let's wait and see. Counselor Hollett, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, due to Brian's motion, am I understanding this correctly, that the motion was to send it back to staff to review and make cuts in every fund that's in a deficit, which the general fund is in the deficit. So we're asking them to go back to the drawing board. They need time to do that. I don't expect them to on the fly tonight go over this after that motion. They need time, a significant amount of time to do that. So that was the motion that was just on the table.
So are you making a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting and allow staff to revise the funds that are operating in the deficit.
Now then later.
My feeling.
second.
Okay. Sorry, seconded by Don Kenyon, is that right?
Yes.
Discussion?
My feeling is that it could be somewhat helpful to at least go through these pretty quickly to catch errors
I agree.
that if some work done.
If you don't think they're gonna be caught by the people who are supposed to be looking at it, the library people, whoever would do that, then we should look to their error.
Well, I'd say that we're here. If we're not here doing this, then, I don't imagine you're going to work on it tonight. So any errors that we catch will be noted. And, everybody will have a better understanding of what's going on with the budget and it changes. You'll see the changes reflected. I don't understand why we'd cancel it.
Counselor Hollett, is that a new hand or same hand?
I'm sorry, it's the same hand. I'll take it down.
Thank you. Jackie, do you want to call for a vote?
Yeah, Chrissy, will you repeat the motion?
Motion was to adjourn the meeting to allow the staff to revise funds that are in the deficit.
Let's be careful with the word adjourn.
Sorry, pause. You're right.
Continue.
Continue.
If you're open, the revising your motion.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
So what was it? You moved to what?
Continue the meeting.
Continue. Okay. Mayor Cutchin,
Nay.
Linda Kammerer,
Nay.
Linda Dunham,
Nay.
Lisa Samuelson,
Nay.
Seema Lavelle Beers,
Nay.
Brenna Chrisman,
Nay.
Counselor Tarman,
Nay.
Counselor Hollett,
Aye.
Jan Christensen,
Nay.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
eight ayes, 2 nays. No, that was backwards. Sorry. Reverse what I said.
Oh,
8 nays. 2 ayes.
motion fails. And move on to the library.
So that's going to be, as you stated, pages 14 and 15 of the third version of the budget. Pages in the upper right-hand corner.
All right, Lisa, you had a question, sorry, from earlier about line 7 and 10.
Sorry, I was out of order.
That's okay.
I am just wondering why administrative overhead is listed twice on that budget.
I see that. We'll remove it out of the M&S.
And can I ask what is all entailed in an administrative overhead?
There's a lot of things, so it's staff wages that do things for the department to cover, stuff in the main office that we use for other departments.
And how-
Insurance, general fund pays the insurance for every single department. There's a lot in there.
And how is that take? How do they keep track of it?
We don't track it. We just use like a percentage.
And what's a percentage? Is it the same percentage for each?
No, because we do different, so we might have, like, for instance, Leah up front, Rick does a lot more, maybe for public works side of things. Leah does a lot for, most of her job is water. So it depends a lot on stuff like that as far as wages are concerned.
And that's part of Rick's wages? Or,
For the library,
no, you said that Rick does a lot of things in administrative overhead.
yeah, it's everybody in this building. And everything that's in use in this building.
So for example, they have their library board meetings once every 2 months. I have to notice those, so I print the agendas, I post them, emails out. The roof is leaking, so I patch the roof. Then I hired someone to do more permanent fix, got quotes, fix the rest of it.
So what you're saying is administrative overheads in each department, it's split based on a percentage. That's what it is. It's not in for any one particular thing for the library. It's just shared amongst all of the departments.
Right, because I see it in every
Yeah.
department, so I just wondered how it was. How they came up with the figure and how they track it. So it's not trackable.
Not really tracked. I mean, we kind of all know, what percentage of our time we spend in each department. So something like that's been done, and then we just use that formula. We're looking at doing maybe something different for next year to make it a little better. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Can I ask what professional services is? For the library?
Yes, if you go to the page after, so it's going to be IT and computer support, and travel and training. The library really runs on nothing. I mean, you see what they're,
Right.
and that's including, you know, employees half-time wages. So
So there's one full-time person or
there's one half-time
one
person,
time, one half.
and then the rest is all volunteer.
That's listed under wages, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question whenever I have an opportunity.
Go ahead.
Did we resolve the administrative overhead that's in there twice? Are we gonna suggest that we remove one or the other?
Correct. So across the board, we've been putting it not in with M&S. So this will just get that amount will get removed from the M&S.
The 3,750.
Correct.
And which figure will be used?
5,000.
That's,
Correct.
so then how do you balance it again?
This is all in the general fund. So the general fund's gonna have to go all the way. It's gonna go. Anything done in the general fund trickles all the way back down. So
And the computer support, is that here at the library or is there?
So that is for like when they have issues with their printers, their computers, anything like that. The IT guy comes in when he's up here and we'll go over there and help her with whatever issues she's has going on.
Oh, so you have an IT person that comes for all of your departments.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. And so you kind of split the IT fees.
He actually, whatever he does at each department is billed at each department.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Does anybody have any questions on this? Anything more?
I assume utilities and stuff too are just percentage of the overall utility.
No, actually, that is their utility bill.
Oh,
Yeah.
Solar.
Yeah, they have,
Oh,
they've got
okay.
solar panels on the grant and
I was
yeah,
gonna say, how's it so low?
yeah, they really like do whatever they can to keep going over there. It's pretty amazing.
Change out their lights.
Yeah,
Be lights.
Mm,
yeah. Yep.
All right, let's see. What is donation acquisitions? How does that differ from regular acquisitions?
So those are donations given. The other one would be general fund monies. The donations is what comes in from people donating when they go into the library.
Why is it in the budget?
Expenditure.
Yeah.
It's an expenditure. If I donate books to the library,
Probably a corresponding resource coming into the general fund.
Correct.
The main resource paid to the general fund. Because this is just one department.
You're saying the time that it takes somebody to receive donations and
No, there's a credit of $2,000 in the general fund resources, and then this is the corresponding $2,000
Oh.
expenditure, spending that $2,000.
So the library said, oh, we normally get $2,000 a year in donations. So we put that in the revenue side of the budget, and then that's what they have for spending that same revenue.
And I'm assuming they only spend what they receive in actuality as the year goes along.
Correct.
this is probably a library term, but I don't, what's Cersei system? I don't know what that is.
So that is like a system that we have to have in order to have the library.
Mhm.
So it's like a shared system that everybody could,
Oh, does it connect you to other libraries?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so they can go in and get stuff pulled
yeah,
from other
because,
places.
yeah,
and-
because we get books from the Springfield Library. We
Right,
check them out all the time.
yeah, or audio
Yeah,
books. stuff
over
like
right
that.
here.
Yep.
So if my math is correct, if we take off the 3,750 of administrative overhead in M&S, the new M&S total will be 15,700. That would be 19,450 minus 3,750.
Yeah, 15,700.
That's what I got. On page 15, the library fund, under professional services, if we could just change the spelling on support. We got it right under SRP grant support. but on the IT computers. And I believe the new total M&S line 11 will be 23,577.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
You mute. Any other questions on the library? Yep, is everything going to Parks? Parks? And on the parks, page 16 in your packet. 16 and 17. Rick, are we gonna remove that? Personnel, oh, no, that comes in from. Or that goes out to public works, correct? Personnel work, allocation. Isn't that what we charge out to public works?
For 0.2 FTE.
Correct.
There was another one with a similar name that we hadn't used in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I started saying it, then I started clicking.
Right.
I notice materials and supplies are in M&S, and then they're listed over here. So on one side it's 8,500, then 28,000.
So page,
So then you're just gonna have your basic materials and supplies,
Okay,
plus the utilities, plus building maintenance.
right, so what you're seeing on page 17, that 28,
yeah,
so the M&S that is there at 85 is
is comparable to M&S when they were all broken out.
Oh, okay.
And then that would be the new line.
I got it. That's the roll up
Yes,
on this. Okay.
and everything for this budget was carried over, and items where they were just added 3% for across the board.
Okay.
I think this question was asked earlier, but at another meeting, another part of this meeting, seasonal workers being blank, is that
Correct, we haven't used them in a few years for parks.
It's not missing, it's just
Carry
zero.
over from last year,
Copy.
what that was. I would definitely would not mind putting something there, but I was just carrying over from last year.
Rick, the park improvements, ARPA went to 0 on the revised.
Park improvements ARPA will be 0, yeah. Right, so that is,
There'll be no expenditure this year,
we have everything expended by the end of
this year.
current year, yes, so
Okay.
that is, so that will need to be removed. And as you can see in the second line of.
Yep. It has been, yeah.
Perfect. Yes, our goal is to spend that by the end of it.
So what is the 32,000 going to be spent on?
Some of it's already been spent, some of it we are trying to figure that out at the moment.
We just spent almost 9,000 on, what bathroom was that?
Remodeling.
Greenwater,
No.
wait, no,
Salmons.
Salmon Creek. So,
For,
Yes.
on,
No, sorry, Salmon Creek is already in here. I'm sorry, that was,
The 9,000 that was just spent
Greenwater.
was spent on Greenwaters Park. The
Maybe I
the restrooms in Greenwaters Park.
thank you.
what I'm asking is what kind of stuff is being done in the restrooms that was spending money on?
I just put brand new flushometers, brand new touchless flushometers, brand new flushless or touchless sink or faucets, however you want to call them. Everything to upgrade that to the plan or pandemic. So it's much easier for people to quit having or spreading germs.
Thank you. And is that for both the park side and the rest stop or just?
No, the rest area was almost upwards of $20,000 to upgrade that. And we wanted to take that out to extra bids because of the amount that it costs to do so. So no, the rest area did not get done, but that was one of the things we tried to do. So to answer your question, no, the rest area did not get done.
Doesn't that money come from ODOT or something? now?
Correct. But
ODOT pays us for us to manage the rest stop though.
For the ODOT payment annually is only 10,000, isn't it?
yeah, it's about that.
Right.
Nothing in there.
That
Yeah.
was.
ODOT pays $10,000 a year. The cost to upgrade the bathrooms is over $20,000, just to upgrade the bathrooms to touchless or the best way to quit spreading germs for the rest area. Biggest problem is it's all brick. You have to run all new, brand new electrical. You have to run a whole plethora of new infrastructure to make that what I would call a upgrade.
It does sound like a good use of ARPA funds though, is it not?
Oh, absolutely, but because it's over the threshold, over $10,000, it has to have extra bids. We have to have at least 3 bids to do so. Due to what council has requested. So, no, I chose not to move any further with that. Because one, Public Works is chose to not run in a deficit, and two, I don't want to get Public Works in trouble. So we did not move any further in fixing or upgrading the rest area.
But you're not saying you're not going to upgrade, you're simply saying you need more bids to be able to present to council. Use the ARPA funds.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. I'm gonna do it right. I'm not gonna do it wrong.
thank you.
I guess what I'm getting at though is instead of, if I'm understanding correctly, you're planning on spending the rest of the 32,000 that hasn't been spent yet in this current year. But it doesn't sound like you're planning on using that towards those restrooms in the rest area. So then you would need more ARPA funds once all those bids come through.
That is incorrect, Counselor Kenyon. My fact of the matter is to spend it before July 1. The most important thing is I have to have 2 more bids before I can accept one due to the current regulations or standards that we have set forth for us in spending city's money, whether it's handout money from ARPA or it's revenue from taxpayers, doesn't matter. I got to do what's right.
So then, right, so I'm just trying to clarify, are you planning on trying to spend the rest of the ARPA funds that are in the current budget on the rest area upgrades?
We do not,
Before-
Whether it be the rest area or any other part of the parks, yes, but the rest area is one of my top priorities to get dealt with. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you bet.
On line 12, the amphitheater, I think your Parks and Community Services, I've heard, different amounts. So this seems a little bit low. Is it a cutback on how much work will be done there, or?
no, this is going to a savings account to build up to the larger amount of the estimation of what we think it should cost.
So this is just a savings account, no work.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Can the same thing happen with the rest area restroom?
Potentially, yes.
But it has to be spent by when?
So the rest area is a little, so the funding for the rest area is in the street departments. So we're actually kind of intermingling departments at this point in the conversation
But the ARPA funds need to be spent
before the end of the year, correct?
before the end of the year,
Before the end of the fiscal year,
which is.
June 30th. 31st, before July 1st.
And it has to be spent on rest area. restroom?
No, it has to be spent in the parks,
In the park.
in the parks, correct.
Seems like there's plenty of opportunities for you to
Plenty
spend
of,
it.
there's plenty of opportunities in the parks to spend the rest of that money.
So is it true that every single bathroom is messed up?
Every single bathroom could be better.
Okay.
But they all have.
Very political way of
Good
saying it.
training programs.
But I'm sorry,
I heard
We have a brand new bathroom in Diamond View Park that has been destroyed. Every single day we open it. $70,000 bathroom. So we can put hundreds of $1,000s into all of the parks and all of the bathrooms. But until we get a community who holds kids or people accountable for their actions, we're going to continue to do so until, well, they're all gone, pretty much. And that's pretty much where we're going.
Surveillance cameras.
but that,
Inside, that's illegal, I'm sure.
but that is one of the things that parks departments always have to deal with is vandalism. That's just part of this nature of the beast. Unfortunately, so, but yes, every one of their bathrooms could be improved.
Thank you, Rick.
Any other questions for Parks?
Yeah. Can someone explain line 17, the transfer to Public Works SBL 11? The 4,350.
That would be another mistake.
So we're moving that.
Are they paying for some of your vehicles?
They are paying for some of the vehicles, correct? So line 13 transfers to the new vehicle. And that's just so that the parks get skin in the games and are every
would-
day.
Oh, I think we.
That'll add up to your 4,350.
Well,
Right.
it'll, no,
Well, no, the new vehicle and new mower, 1,000, 3,350. Is that,
right, but there are more items. The correct number for the transfer to the SB 11 is the 1770. So the transfer to the 4350 is a mistake.
Needs to be deleted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a quick question on the line to the Public Works personnel allocation. So $20,000 for 0.2 of an employee. Is that like including all of the PERS and insurance and everything, or just wages?
Everything.
Fully loaded.
The 0.2 FTE to me, seems like it might be low considering how much work is done by Public Works in the parks.
So I didn't quite catch all that.
See, 2 might be a little low.
It is low.
0.2 is extremely low.
Yeah, it's being generous.
Very,
Public
that's
Works-
what they're charging general fund.
Yeah, Public Works is being generous.
There's no reason to be generous right now. It's obvious that we need to be point blank. And Public Works has put more into the parks than a 0.2 FTE in the past 5 years. And it's not going to get any better until everything gets fixed.
How much do you think you are using in there? A full FTE or?
A full and a half at least is what we put forth in that. Most of that is throughout the winter when nobody frequents the park. However, in the summertime, I usually have a crew of 4 guys on a regular basis, just trying to keep the grass mowed and the picnic tables cleaned, whatnot. Yes, so well over a 1.2 all year long.
So shouldn't we be increasing that then?
Absolutely, but where are we gonna get the money from? So right now, we're gonna keep operating at a 0.2. We're gonna do what we have to continue to operate our parks in the way that we do, the best that we can. So yes, if we had a magic miraculous way to pull 1.2 FTE, let's do so. But right now we don't. So we're gonna operate at a 0.2. I just want the committee to understand that that's not how it's operating right now.
There will be some relief to that with the grant we received for the fire abatement projects, but that will include a lot of mowing. Now, it won't obviously fully fix that, but it help.
It ain't gonna fix nothing. It's just gonna be a Band-Aid for a couple of weeks. I hate to say that to you, boss, but that's just all it is. It's a Band-Aid.
I understand, you said it respectfully, and I take it respectfully as well.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else on parks?
Yeah,
I probably said enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you have an overview how you think the parks are standing in the budget? We heard Robert.
Well, I'm just trying to be more politically correct, I guess. We don't want to lose our parks. We have to be generous. This is but I mean, this is general fund. So if we start talking about raising it to what it really is, then it gets put up on it becomes cutting block potential. That makes sense.
That's a fact.
Letting us know why you're conservative with that.
Correct. I'm concerned with it to, yeah, exactly, to reserve our having our parks.
What's your most labor intensive park, green orders?
Yes.
Yeah, That's our largest, most definitely. And it's got the greenest grass. It
Don't we
grows
have somebody
fastest.
that mows that stays there?
We can spend 7 hours in mowing and weed eating in green waters and still not be done in one day.
No, my question was, aren't we having people stay there that are supposed to be doing that type of thing?
That's
No,
not part, that's not part of the caretaker's job.
Correct. That's not part of the.
They take care of the restrooms and they take care of their own area
Right.
and they do policing.
And then, and there is a seasonality aspect to parks, absolutely, because like this time of year, the grass grows faster than we can cut it. And in 6 months from now, the leaves will fall faster than we can pick them up.
So I have two other comments have been questions raised by Robert and others about revenue for the parks. And one is, we had talked in our committee about Parks and Community Services Committee about a renaming of the amphitheater and some underwriting. And we have not gotten anywhere. I know I asked First Tech Credit if they would be interested. They're the only financial institution left in town. And I think, James, you've pursued some things as well. So I think that's one maybe we have in our back pocket at some point. And then, of course, there are park revenues. We know that many of them are waived, or pardon me, park fees, many of them are waived for various reasons. So that's the other place to look for a little bit of cash.
Right.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few companies too about, being corporate sponsored, but all their questions were like, well, what do I get out of it? And I was like, we'll have to have that decided at council, what you would get out of it. Is it just a naming? What is it? I can't offer anything. I can tell you what it might be.
There is the sign on 58 both
Yeah.
directions and the big label. I don't know what else we could offer. It's something to think about. What are they interested in?
Yeah,
That's another discussion.
Let's offer it to somebody else who's got a nonprofit for $1 a year. Let's do that.
I can't wait to see what you do with that $1, Robert.
I'm just saying.
Also, that's another reason though, why we need to back off of, if we don't have money in TRT, RTMP funds to donate to the parks, and we're just giving the waivers instead, that's hurting our parks. It's hurting our revenues. So as far as I know, it was talked about previously to start moving those funds over to parks. From my view in the system and in the books, it's never been done until I came on and started doing it this very last year. So that's why they actually have a little bit of money this year, but then it seems like then we're getting to the point to where we're down on the funds and the council is still approving waivers. And I think that should be really thought about before we continue to do stuff like that.
Correct. I have to, piggyback on that idea. Part fee waivers are there for a reason. I understand that we all want to support all these little wonderful projects. They are very great projects. But for those who understand the tragedy of the commons, we are making it to where our common areas, our parks suffer because of all the handouts. And so I definitely wanted to agree with that. We definitely get a lot farther if we were a little more selective.
Yeah.
It's
Gotta have a policy.
I didn't catch that.
Have a policy is what she said, and I would say the policy is in the fee waiver, in the fee schedule. That's the policy.
Play devil's advocate. To some degree, a lot of these events,
Just decide when we're gonna cut it off and cut it off completely. 100%. We can't just let one guy do it and not another.
right? I'm just playing devil's advocate. There are a lot of these small events that wouldn't happen without waivers, such as 4th of July fireworks or concerts in the park.
I'm not sure some of those things people would be willing to do. Hey, we're not gonna have a
We've
fireworks,
had,
donate $5 or something. There is other ways. to do it.
Exactly.
For totally.
Used to
is.
come from the community.
Yeah, it does,
That's what we
a lot
do.
more, definitely.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but we've had several people and several organizations come to this town that have paid full price for a rental of the park and never batted an eye. Yet we jump over a dime to save a penny for the people who want these freebies, the handouts. It's quite frankly happened way too much, and it continues to happen. And until it quits happening and we quit giving, and I'm not trying to be, well, politically incorrect, I'm just being point blank and honest. When we quit handing out and giving everybody these entitlements, we're never going to get anywhere in the Parks Department. Plain and simple, fire me if you want. That's how I see it.
Are we on building and planning?
I'm
now?
building and planning.
On the building and planning. Page 12. So, building and planning, again, just to carry over, with the biggest difference being admin overhead was, has been changed, and that went into the calculations that we've been using for admin overhead. And the admin overhead for the personnel is a little different. But that number was out of our calculations. So, professional services, the 75%, excuse me, it's 75% more tiered. That is our building department services. Those are our third-party vendor, which checks our plan reviews for building and then also checks the building permits when they're ready to be inspected. So those are building inspectors because we do not have in-house inspectors. And then the planning service, occasionally we, this year, first proceeding year, I'm kind of curious about because this was the line that occasionally we pay LCOG for advice services, things that just that pops up because they have a much more robust planning department. They have so they're a great source of knowledge, but sometimes that knowledge costs. And that's what that 1,500 is. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Is the city engineer in this formula?
City engineer, not in this, no, they're not planning building. Even though if we're doing our own building, we will use them, but that will come out of more appropriate lines.
He's more like a project, right? Like he's built for
Professional
project.
service.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So Rick, I'm surprised that your part of your FTE is not in this fund. That you do site reviews and.
No, you're absolutely correct, and that is something that for all of our fees that we charge, that's something that I've been looking into.
I mean, I would guess that a good percentage of your day.
We're
each
missing the
day-
FTE line.
Oh, we're missing
That's what
FTE
he's
line.
saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that what you?
Right.
So it is built in here already?
no, we're missing it,
Okay,
So, but no, that would be the admin overhead,
but we still need to put an FTE in there, no?
but we still need to put an FTE line, so I'm not sure.
that's why the admin number is so large, because it's. a lot of
Correct.
you.
A lot of me,
Yeah.
correct, yeah,
Got it.
so.
So it's just the FTE line. Needs to be-
Right.
Whatever that number is.
But since you did bring that up, we do offer a lot of our planning services that other municipalities charge for, we're offering for free. Like pre-consultation meetings for planning reviews, a lot of that stuff, we just simply sit down and chat with them. Which is appropriate in some cases, but not appropriate in all. For example, minor site plan reviews, a minor site plan review is for any new home, or there's a couple of things fit that category. But the minor site plan review, we don't charge for. Major site plan review, we do charge for. But after this process, when we go back into evaluating city fees, this is where that will come up. Because the city fees that we're evaluating are not paying the staff time going into it.
So you're saying that that process is underway?
Yes,
Evaluating.
yeah, it's through multiple different parallel running. I know that the admin committee is doing it, and I'm also putting some stuff together as well. But that's on the docket for July. Is that correct? I believe so. That's on the review.
So there's no revenue side on this one. Some of them had a second page, and so you referred to the building fees and so forth.
Right, that would be general revenue. So this is just, this here is just outgoing, that would be incoming, which is on a different page. Correct?
Yeah, all the departments, their resources are on the first page.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
See, until the end of June to figure out where everything is, sorry.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, move on to municipal court.
This page is 19.
So we have the personnel services, which includes insurance, PERS, and wages. There's a half-time position. We have our muni court judge contract. I did add 3% to it. Admin overhead, again,
Can we spell that overhead just to be consistent with the?
yes. State court fees and court expenses for prosecutor, which varies.
That seems very low.
It's kind of hard because it's sometimes we won't have somebody in there for 6 months and then we'll need a prosecutor for one case or
Okay.
so
They don't have to be present, is that what you're saying?
it depends on the case that they're handling, that if we need a prosecutor or not, or if it's just handled by the judge.
And can we? The prosecutor, right? So on. My mother was an English teacher. No. Are we anticipating no travel or training or?
It hasn't been used in a long time, so I didn't even include it. I'm just basing this off of, current expenses. So that's why I only used the 2,500 for the prosecutor. That's about where we were last year. For this current year.
Sorry, I was looking back at state court fees on the 2021 to 2022. So did we like get money back that year?
No idea.
Oh, all right.
I think there's a complex formula. You pay a ticket, some goes somewhere else.
Okay.
Any questions on this?
Moving on to the, oh, go ahead.
Is there a question online?
Yeah, well, it's actually in the general fund revenue side. Looks like we're only anticipating receiving 35,000 in fines and forfeitures, which is what comes out of having a municipal court. And it's costing us, I think it said 87,000 to run it, so we're going in the hole. And it's been moving towards that for years. We used to receive more in fines and forfeitures than it cost us to run that department. So, I don't know what's going on, but I do think it needs to be looked at.
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. The percentages that we receive from fines and forfeitures tickets has gone down from the state legislature taking more of it. However, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Folks may be aware that recent legislation that was just signed by the governor allowing all cities now to have speed cameras. So that it's something we will be looking into once everything on that bill has been ironed out.
Yeah, but can we put them on the highway? 'Cause that's where our speeding problem is.
And First Street. Yeah,
Yeah, it's commercial, yes.
First Street commercial.
Does that cost us anything? It goes?
Cost of cameras, yeah. And I also just want to say, as most folks are aware, the Muni Court allows the police department to charge someone with what would be misdemeanor crimes that right now the DA's office can't prosecute because they don't have enough staff. So those kind of, let's call them petty crimes, trespassing, shoplifting, that kind of stuff. If they don't have that option to go to Muni Court, then there's really no option at all to hold people accountable, since it won't be prosecuted.
You would think that our muni court fines and forfeitures would go up then. Why
Yeah.
has it come down by half in the last 5 years?
Your staff?
Well, no, there's recent case law where judges can only charge what people can afford for their monthly payments, which is for some of our offenders is quite low. But this affects not only the fines and forfeitures for what would be criminal acts, but also our entire code. So tall grass, dogs at large, stuff that people care about quite a bit when they call the police department. So we could no longer write parking tickets or illegal parking or littering or anything that's in our Muni code. So yes, we'd like to increase our revenue. But the folks that we are issuing citations to have to be able to afford it to some degree. Chief Martin just let me know that police department has written $218,000 in tickets this year. But
That's what we're getting, that's the portion that we get out of
So we
that.
got 35.
that's my understanding.
Wow.
18,000 in 1 year?
I don't know if
Is
Chief
that-
Martin is available to answer that.
I have a question. How's in other cities, how are police departments currently run? Are they looked at as kind of a money maker, or are they more of a service?
Well, it's definitely all as a service because it's illegal to have,
Okay.
quotas. I think the
Better resist.
question is, how do we write $218,000 with the tickets, but we're only getting 35,000 in revenue?
Well, I can't really answer that because we're supposed to be separate from the court. We've written 218,000 plus in citations this year. And that is about 8,000 to Lowell. I can't remember, and the rest is spread between our municipal court and circuit court. So all courts, we get different percentages back.
No, a very small percentage.
Is there a way for you to discern how much of what you've written is for our municipal court? So we can compare what we're receiving from muni court compared to what's being written?
Well, for instance, the traffic one, I know off the top of my head, just traffic to our muni court is about 77,000 so far this year. And that's from July till April.
Wow.
So we still have a couple months left.
Wow.
So is that, so I assume most of them get either dismissed or
Well,
start,
Well, for
the
instance,
fees are
yeah,
brought down
We-
dramatically.
so politically correct or not, if you can afford, so basically the case law says, if you can afford to pay the ticket, you have to pay the ticket, but if you can't, you don't.
You like a
So-
triple coupon special? Like-
Yeah, so a lot
That's
of people,
called entitlement.
so a lot of people pay $20 a month for several years, and that's,
While
That's
you
not-
or I go
that's
out
not
there, get a
something that
ticket, we
we
pay
have.
full price.
That's not something we have.
no, not really.
Is there a collection service that pursues those who have not paid but could?
I can't answer that. I'm not the court administrator, so.
We don't have one.
Don't know.
And there's some things you can and some things you can't for those. And that'd be a city prosecutor question. I'm sure they could probably answer that better than I can.
Do they have to do city service, like clean up garbage on the roads or something like that?
Technically, the voters got rid of that last year.
Isn't that the?
That was part of the slavery.
slave-
That was part of the slavery thing. So if a judge sentences you to that, you can still do it. But the community service stuff can't happen anymore, even if people volunteer for it. Only if a judge sentences you. And typically speaking, they can only sentence you that on a criminal charge, not a violation charge.
We are looking into that, trying to restart some kind of program.
So can we contract with Lowell to do our municipal court services in order to not have to have the department up here?
We could try, but if I was Lowell, I would charge us what we cost, because they have, we have
But we haven't asked Lowell, so we can't.
We have
assume.
211,000 and Lowell has 7,000, so that's, I don't know how many times more work that would be, but that's quite a bit.
What do you mean we have 211,000,
So we've written 211,000 worth of tickets.
but not all to muni court?
No, there's 7,000 in Lowell.
Of the 218,000.
Lowell doesn't have a person that does that. Their city clerk just does it, but they also only have 2 city employees that do that kind of stuff, the city clerk and the city administrator.
Oh, I think it's something council should look into.
Any other questions on this one? Move on to the WAC.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks for walking up the stairs.
Ears are burning.
We're gonna go to the WAC, page 18.
Last page 18.
All right. Not a lot going on with the West. We just left the 1,500 materials and supplies in there. I just we've had to do some things with it, like board up windows, fencing, stuff like that, so that's just in there for that type of thing. Utilities still, paying over there, which are not cheap.
Need some solar panels and new lights.
For sure, maybe get the libraries.
In California, they put on all the schools, they put solar on parking lot.
Hmm.
And they run the whole schools that way now. So
So utilities last year was nothing and this year's 13.
No, I think that needs to be looked at.
And the legislature appropriation is that we don't have it. Is that correct?
No, Colleen moved it to another
Oh.
separate fund.
That's the fund that we got, that's the 1.5 million that we got from,
Well, it's listed on line 16 as 1.4 million. You just correct the spelling on legislature. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So I see it on line 16.
Oh, oh, it's probably.
Does it need to come over?
It's listed as 1.4 because we put 100,000 into professional services last year. And those two together equals the 1.5, because we were gonna pay for
Architect.
architecture or whatever.
oh, I didn't print that.
Yeah,
It has its own fund now, so,
you put it into a kind of a project fund, so it all moved over
Right.
that fund.
So we're earning interest on it or something? or-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then as the project starts to get sourced, it'll come out of that separate fund.
any other questions on the line?
I guess I'm kind of curious why it's 13,000 for utilities. Is anybody in there? Using it or something?
I think it's just running with heat or whatever, maybe,
The heat is on the bare minimum,
yeah,
except for the multiple times someone has broken into the WAC and used it as their home, turning up the heat to 80 degrees. Multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple arrests have been made, but unfortunately no prosecution.
and that is actually what it is costing, because what's been closed, almost a year now, and that is the utility fund. Even with an empty,
It's a huge building.
yep,
Till things start happening in there?
Well, you
Well,
start
you're
to
hiding
Maybe on
mold and
Yeah.
stuff.
Gotta have AC too. don't you?
It is curious though, that because if the numbers are accurate, in 2021, 14,000,
Yeah.
21, 22, almost 13,000.
mhm,
You have to keep it above a certain temperature, otherwise you'll start developing mold and
yeah,
condensation, moisture, and then it'll deteriorate.
temperature
really
control is
fast.
huge, yes.
Yeah,
Lane Electric's prices have gone up.
That too.
Here's a hand of-
Robert.
Oh, Roger Christian?
Yes, the temperature is kept, just as somebody was stating earlier, at a reasonable temperature to keep from molding. With the fact that there is grants to try to rehabilitate. If we didn't have those grants, I would have everything turned completely off and it would be completely destroyed in no time at all. That said, you have to keep a reasonable temperature to maintain a certain level of moisture barrier, or however you want to say it, as an engineer would say, protection, to keep it buildable or keep it upgradable. So unfortunately, yeah, we still have to pay a utility bill. whether that be water, electric, whatever, to keep that ready for when we do get it rebuilt and back up to par. So, yeah, that's the cost of doing business.
Any other questions? There's no one property tax? Nothing in there?
Not one of
No, because we're
utilities.
not making money.
All right, next.
I have one question. Yeah, is it possible to move anything from M&S over to the expenditures on, to have it come directly out of the 1.5 million? Could we? I'm just kind of thinking out loud, could we legally put the utilities?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I didn't know exactly what was in that.
The appropriation's very broad. It just says renovate the WAC. The only guidance you have.
That's kind of what I was thinking, and if the utilities are on to keep it viable. It seems like we may be able to transfer those costs into the other fund.
You could argue if we weren't rehabilitating it with money, then we'd have all the utilities off.
Yeah. Well, that's something we will look at as part of our new direction.
Good. All right, next RTMP.
Oh,
Yes,
we are skipping the RTMP and TRT until the next meeting because I had some questions come across and I need to kind of get some stuff together, be a little bit more compiling for that. Just as far as,
Those were Linda's questions, right?
yeah, and just figure out, park waiver fees, stuff like that, what's coming out of it, so. I thought it'd be better to hold off so I can get the right info.
So we can discuss.
Because we needed to do a beginning fund balance and,
the water reserve fund.
yeah, water fund reserve.
Yeah, the last
That's the last
page there,
step.
page 23, water fund reserves. First thing I noticed on here is that this is one that has 2019, 2020 in the first column. Which means we don't have the 22, 23 data.
And the top says 22, 23.
Not a lot to this. This is one that we've been putting some funds into set aside for, I think it says. What is this? Isn't this just for if something happens at the water? Rick, help me.
23.
Yeah, the water fund reserve, so we have that for, oh, it says to support and maintain water repair in the water system. So kind of a rainy day fund here, trying to build it up.
It's the result of water fund increase numerous years ago. The percentage of that water fund increase was to this fund.
And that's why water is so expensive.
There's many reasons why water is costly, but it's also expensive is relative. I mean, yeah, if we compare with other communities, how I said it politely, if we compare to other communities, we're pretty even on cost.
I mean, we have millions of dollars in loans for our wells and right now,
Debt service.
yeah, we have a lot.
That we're paying.
And like Rick said, they do surveys, League of Oregon Cities does, and if you look at the, where surveys work, we are right, almost at the exact 50% for its cost of water. You
So
gotta understand
because
your
we're a
water.
small community, because I've said this many times, but in California, we pay like third.
Right, so,
Are you including your sewer fees? I mean, because ours are all wrapped into one.
Yes.
and
all
typically,
wrapped into one.
and typically smaller communities do pay more on water because of the amount of resources available. There's savings in bulk. And not only that, there's also savings in density. So if you have a more dense population, you have less lines of piping. When people spread out like we are, because we are pretty low, low density, that increases the cost on the water department. Just because of those paying in are spread out, more materials, more. More pipes, valves, everything, so it is very common for larger communities to actually pay less for water per individual. Because
Just remember that being very shocking. It's like, what?
So it says review year 2026. This fund is supposed to be reviewed again in 2026. Okay.
It can be reviewed before then.
But I mean, it's scheduled to be reviewed for then.
Yeah, it's required. If we haven't used it by then, we have to make a decision to close it or use it or figure out what we're going to use it on. But in the meantime, we could be reviewing that as a council and saying, what do we want to use these funds for? We don't have to wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like, if we're to do that, I'd like to see suggestions from staff. That's what they deem important.
Yeah, that's normally how council works, is our staff bring us suggestions.
Thought it was for wells and stuff.
for all kinds of stuff. I mean, wells are absolutely part of it, yes, but there's so much more.
It'd be nice to see that on here, where, we think we're paying a lot of money. It'd be nice to know kind of where you want to put it. How you're gonna spend it.
This point, I believe it's just a savings account.
I was gonna say, it's more like a,
No identified, it's getting spent on this exact item.
I thought we already covered this fund in a previous meeting. And that we were gonna be on general fund tonight.
oh, I don't remember.
We don't have anything left, do we?
We have
Nope.
RTMP and TRT and
Enrollment.
that whack.
Oh, that's.
That were all listed that we were gonna talk about tonight.
That's all you got.
Okay, so we're supposed to have that meeting scheduled Wednesday. We think that's reasonable. You do, when would you do Wednesday?
Not if we have to go back through that.
Right.
No.
Did at least some of them get talked about and brought?
Well, the problem is that you're talking like a general fund, right? So you're talking a lot of funds. You're talking a lot. If you change one department, you've got the whole trickle down effect in that general fund. So, the other one, the funds that I think that,
The enterprise funds,
sorry.
the enterprise funds.
Correct. Even though I think what you're saying is to put more aside even in those, correct?
Just if they can put it in reserve and like they are doing, that's fine, but the expenditures shouldn't exceed the resources that they get for the year and their revenue they get from
And
the
then
customers.
some of them were,
Yeah, they're all pretty close. I think Public Works are pretty close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we just have a lot of work to do in the general fund. You know, things that happen in the general fund are also going to affect the emergency services fund. We transfer, you know, close to $500,000 to emergency services every year. So, you know,
That's
there's
the fire department.
not just that. Sorry.
I
What'd
said
you say?
that's to run the fire department and it's required by our city financial rules.
I didn't say anything about it being required. I'm just making a statement.
So what do we think is a reasonable timeline for staff to go back and bring this back?
What's our next meeting?
It was supposed to be
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Then we have 2 more meetings. Monday, the 22nd, Wednesday, the 24th. This week and next week are the same. Meetings on Monday and Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 24th of June? No, of May. Oh, okay. I was freaking out for a minute.
So if we don't have this Wednesday, we still have the next one would be the 22nd.
Correct.
I think that's the next Monday.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
meeting today.
But how reasonable is it that the committee would be able to vote on the budget by Wednesday, May 24th?
Well, it probably won't happen. I'm probably gonna have to go into June.
Well, June 1st. Currently, the city council budget hearing.
I don't think we can hold a hearing in city council until the budget committee has finished up and made a recommendation.
Correct, correct. I'm just saying that's when we get planned to have the city council budget hearing.
Oh,
So it seems pretty obvious we're not going to be able to meet on Wednesday. So why don't we just allow Colleen a chance to look at the changes she has to make and then get back to us all by email on new dates?
It worked to just keep Monday and Wednesday of next week. You think you can get a lot done by then and skip Wednesday this week?
So I'd have a week, right?
So do you have to tell other people like, you know, people like Rick and whoever that?
We're all gonna have to work together, yes, correct. We're all gonna have to meet up again, go over things.
maybe we should review administration tonight.
Say it again, Tom.
Maybe we should review the administration fund tonight to help you get a start on what the big project you have.
What time is it?
It is 8:40.
8:40.
So if we don't do Wednesday, are you gonna give the staff a timeline to have it back to you? Because it doesn't make much sense to have them have a week and then we have a day.
Right? Yeah. What happened before. So. I have PD, we have. Well, maybe we should just move it to the following Wednesday. That 2 days isn't gonna. We're still gonna be in June no matter what.
Robert Chrisman has a comment online.
I would just like to meet with the staff when budget committee's gone, if that would be appropriate. That's all.
So James, you want to meet Monday or Wednesday next week?
I'd like to meet both days.
Okay.
Monday.
Yep.
All right, so we will end today and continue Monday, the 22nd at 7 p.m.
I will get an updated calendar out. Everyone later tonight.
Thank you.